Hello, this is the Norco RPC 231 rack mount case. It's a 2U case, and I'm going to be putting my PfSense router into it. Right now I have a standard Dell desktop that you can see right here, and on top of that I have my modem and my network switch. Above that there is another Dell desktop that is being used as my server, and my Drobo FS NAS storage box. And the rack mount case is going to go inside of this 15U rack mount case, which has my mixer on top. So I'm going to clean up that whole, instead of being on a nightstand thing, it's going to be inside of this. Okay, so inside the case we can fit a standard micro ATX motherboard. It uses low profile expansion slots, so you don't need a riser card. It also fits a standard ATX power supply, which is one of the reasons why I chose this specific case. It also has space for two 5¼ inch drive bays. And standard, it has these two 3½ inch drive bay mounts, and underneath those it has three 50mm fans, which, being so small, they're probably quite loud, and I probably won't be using those. And on the front panel I/O, there's your standard power reset buttons, power LED, two network LEDs if you have them, hard drive light, and two USB 2.0 headers. So now what I'm going to be using this case for is my PfSense router, and I'm going to install my modem internally, which will fit inside one of the 5¼ inch bays. And I'll also be using a 2½ inch hard drive with an adapter to fit in the other 5¼ inch bay. So I won't be needing this whole assembly, and I can take this out. And then there's room up front to mount 80mm fans, which will be much quieter than these. As far as the power supply goes, it does fit a standard ATX power supply. However, you do need one that has the fan out the back. If you have one with the power supply with the fan on the bottom or the top, it will be blocked by the case, so it won't work. So this is the Dell that I've been using for my PfSense router. Nothing special about it. It's this micro ATX board, Core 2 deal. Here's my extra Ethernet card, my wireless card. The only problem here is this particular Dell does not have a removable I/O shield. So I'm just going to have to go without one on the new case. Not really a big deal. Okay, so these are the components we'll be using. This is a micro ATX board out of the Dell that I had before. Any micro ATX board will work in this case. I'm just reusing this because I already have it. Ethernet card, because you need two ports, one to your modem, one to your rest of your network. I have a Wi-Fi adapter. This is actually This is actually an Intel kit, except for the Intel wireless card itself does not work in PfSense. So you can swap out the mini PCI Express here. The one I'm using is an Atheros chipset, which is what you want for PfSense. And I have the low profile brackets. A hard drive. This is just an old 2.5-inch laptop drive that I have. A mount for the hard drive. And I've got some replacement 80mm Noctua fans for the case. I've also got a new heatsink because this one here is a little bit too high. The case will actually block the fan. So we've got this Dynatron 2U server case fan. Since I'll also be modifying the case and removing the front panel connectors to make room for my fans, I need a new power switch. This is just a standard momentary 2-pin switch and a generic USB header that I can take off and then drill new holes anywhere I need them on the case to put a front panel USB header. That way I can plug in a keyboard if I need to without having to go around to the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace my brackets with the low profile brackets. So to replace the bracket on the Wi-Fi board, I need to remove the antenna modules, or the antenna connectors. This is just an 8mm nut driver. You remove the nut and the washer that's on there, and that just comes right out. Do the same for the other one. And a Phillips screwdriver to take off the 2 screws here. And just take the new bracket and put the new screws in. And place the antenna connectors. And now we've turned our full height wireless card into a low profile card. Same thing for the Ethernet adapter. Just undo the 2 screws, replace with a new bracket. Most Intel cards usually come with both brackets. already in the same package. So it's not something you usually have to buy separately. Although if you have to, you can usually find them on eBay pretty cheap. But not all Ethernet cards have replaceable ones. If they're not Intel. Intel usually has brackets that fit them. Next step is to replace our heatsink. Now we're ready to go ahead and install the board into our case. I'm going to remove the front panel connectors. this comes right off. It's a sticker. Now the hard part is that I still have these screw posts. I'm going to have to press them out somehow. So I just hammered the screw mount out. I decided to do only one, the one closest to the side here, and leave the others. So there's still enough room to mount a fan there and a fan on the other side. And I'm only going to run 2 fans. There's room for a third fan if I really wanted to, but I'd have to knock out those other 2 screw mounts. To actually mount the fans in the case, I'm just going to use some zip ties. Now we can put the motherboard in there. First we need to check to make sure our standoffs are all in the right place. I think I checked this before, so it should be okay. Yep. Now I don't have the I/O shield because of course the old Dell case didn't have one that was removable. Now this motherboard only has one spare case fan header, so I'm going to use the Y adapter from the Noctua fans. Perfect. Install my cards, my Ethernet card. And the wireless card. And next would be our hard drive. This bracket came with some rubber grommets that I'm going to use to reduce noise from the drive. The case has some toolless drive bay latches. And lastly, our power supply. Now, I'm going to have to drill some new holes in the back to mount my power supply the opposite way, because the cables are too short the other way. There's just no way that it would fit that way. Right there, power supply with longer wires. So there's the power switch, one USB port for a keyboard. Two 2.5-inch hard drive installed it with the adapter. Two 80mm fans. The Dell Micro ATX motherboard with the Dynatron heatsink. And the power supply is not mounted in because I had to swap it over, flip it upside down, but I can always drill a few holes to mount it in. Okay, I got my keyboard plugged into the one USB port. My keyboard has USB pass-through for a thumb drive so I can install the OS. And here we go.